Hi, kitty cats. I am Amethysta Herrick, your hostess for the Purple Podcast, a bi-weekly discussion from your friends down here at the Purple Pod Clan, exploring the intersection of identity and gender, sexuality and intimacy, and community and spirituality. This content right here is being brought to you by supporters of the Purple Pod Clan. If you are already a supporter, let me just first of all thank you for your ongoing support. You know very well that subscribers not only receive new content directly to their email inboxes as soon as we hit that publish button, but are also able to interact with every contributor directly, which includes me. And if you don't want to interact with me, wow, there's something amiss there. So if you would like to support shows just like this one, as well as other podcasts, videos, and written articles by our contributors, I hope you will consider subscribing using the links you're going to find down there in the show notes. Okay, I am super honored and just very excited to be speaking with my guest today, Dakarai Larriett. Hello, Dakarai. How are you?
Hello, Amy. Thank you so much for having me. I'm great.
I am not going to kid you. I'm super honored that you reached out to me. So Dakarai has been a very successful business person, a tremendous advocate for several marginalized communities, and also a police brutality survivor. We'll hear more of that story. But also, 2026 candidate for US Senate for the state of Alabama. Oh my goodness. I'm getting a little twingy here. Yeah. I'm going to say, so you have a great, I don't want to call it an origin story, but there's a good reason why you are running for Senate. But I'd love to start off just with some of your accomplishments. I mean, what is it that qualifies you, first of all, to run for the U.S. Senate?
Oh, it's a great question. Thank you so much for having me. You know,
Oh, gosh.
Congress does not need any more lawyers or like career politicians, right? Like
No.
that's been done. So what I bring is 20 years of experience in the community, serving real people, real Americans. So
Yeah.
my first role in nonprofit was serving on the board of Bronx Community Pride Center. So one of
Oh,
the
wow.
few congressional districts in the country advocating for homeless and LGBT youth. From there, I joined the National Harm Reduction Coalition Board, so a national capacity building organization fighting the opioid crisis. When I moved back to Alabama during the pandemic, I joined the University of Alabama Board, ensuring that everyone has access to quality and cost-effective education. I volunteer in my community. And on top of all of that, I have 20 years of experience in business and Fortune 500 companies and volunteering. So driving for Meals on Wheels, working for Greater Humane Society. So that's what I bring
Right.
to the table.
I just have chills. My goodness. Because we don't have this in Congress, as you mentioned.
Right, right. And when I think about the Congress, it really should reflect America and different skill sets. And again, I'm not going to beat up on lawyers too much, but when you think about lawyers, very adversarial, right? That's the nature of having this party and that party. But in business, we just have to get things done. And so that's what I've really done in my career is bringing people together. For example, when I worked for Whirlpool Corporation, Fortune 500 company, I was the leader of the Pride Employee Resource Group. So I was instrumental in allowing people who decided to transition to use their chosen name, to have access to bathrooms. You think about all the facilities around the country. And that's the kind of work that I've been able to do for LGBT folks, and I'd like to do for all Americans.
Right. Oh, gosh. What if I... oh gosh, see, now I'm stammering. I remember back, it was the early 1990s, right? I think it was 1992, the first time Ross Perot ran for president. And that was one of his big points. He says, we're looking at politicians, and politicians are politicians. You know, we need somebody who's been willing to get things done. You know, who is more pragmatic, I think, is the direction that he took there, the way that he was trying to campaign. And I've always thought that's probably true, because you do have to work together in order to, for a business to be successful, because you're not going to have, you're not going to have a company where everybody agrees. It just doesn't happen. I was in industry long enough to know that doesn't happen. You're going to have there's always too many voices, or always many voices to, for there to be consensus. All right, as long as we're going down that path, you do have a story, the police brutality survivor. What ultimately inspired you that you're going to make this run for U.S. Senate?
It was just that, Amy, is realizing how broken our criminal justice system is. That was my spark. And after my false arrest, I did everything I could to get justice from that night. So,
Yeah.
filing the internal review request, filing complaints with the Michigan Department of Civil Rights, advocating up to Governor Whitmer's office. And by the way, Attorney General Dana Nessel, another member of our community, advocating for myself and asking for justice. And literally nothing was done. I even tried to file a police report against the police and was laughed at, essentially.
Yeah.
So realizing how broken these systems were and that they were failing other people too. In the process, I learned about folks who were falsely arrested and then lost their job because they couldn't pay the bond to get out and they just got stuck into the system for months and months and months. Fortunately, I was able to get out within a day and to ultimately purchase the body cam and the test results to prove that I had no criminality. But my goodness, for people who don't have those resources, they get locked into the criminal justice system. So seeing how broken that was the inspiration. And then I've been speaking to people all over my state and throughout the country and realizing how broken all of these systems are: education, healthcare, the economy. So that is what this campaign is about: fixing those systems and making sure everyone gets a fair shot.
Yeah. And to be, I mean, you didn't go into detail. I mean, you were pulled over by some police. They told you they thought that you were impaired, right? Driving under the influence, I guess, is what ultimately they were telling you, right?
Yeah, so I was driving while black and gay through the state of Michigan and was pulled
I,
over.
I don't I don't want to laugh about that, but it's totally true because you were not drunk. You,
But yeah, I was pulled over, profiled. They were in disbelief that the car belonged to me. They made comments about the car and how nice it was and how's
yeah,
it driving and what year is it and how long have you had it. Nothing that related to the first allegation, which was that I made a rolling stop. Then
right.
the trooper, George Kenya, lied and said that he thought that I was impaired and that he smelled alcohol on me. And then he started this allegation that I smelled fruity and that my friend and I smelled fruity, which is a gay slur. And
Yeah,
of course, in the end, I tested negative for alcohol and drugs. So he completely made up that allegation of a fruity smell.
that's
And from
awful.
there, I actually was handcuffed, arrested, taken to a local hospital, tested negative on the spot, and still jailed.
I'm kind of speechless. I don't.
It was just a complete breakdown. And
Yeah,
troopers were so intently focused on getting a drug charge that night, again, speaking to the racial profiling. In
right.
fact, it started with them actually making fun of me and calling me daiquiri, daiquiri. I hope you're not drinking daiquiris from the dash cam, which we got
Yeah.
5 months after the incident. And in the jail, I was accused of smuggling drugs into the jailhouse by way of ingestion and was
Yeah.
forced to use the restroom publicly to prove that I was not smuggling drugs. So it was a
Right.
nightmare.
It sounds like it. I know that you filed a civil suit, and at least one of them. I don't know if you've done this again, but I saw that one was dismissed.
Yes. And so that really is the genesis of this case is
Yeah.
the system is broken and it is designed to protect the worst actors. And it was dismissed because of qualified immunity, not because there was not criminality. The judge fully acknowledged how dubious this stop was. And essentially, This is what happened. The troopers in Michigan State Police Evidence Department colluded, edited and redacted the video that we got, presented that to the judge as evidence, and the judge basically decided to make a summary judgment. Now, we've already appealed that, and the
Okay.
key grounds for appeal are that what you saw was not evidence. It's redacted. It's missing me being forced to use the restroom publicly because they don't want to release that. They don't want to
Sure.
release me being yelled at in the jailhouse. They don't want to release conversations questioning my ownership of the vehicle, which speak to the racial profiling and
Right.
discrimination. So we don't even know fully the extent of that night because we don't have all of the video where I was not present.
That's stunning. It was in a local Michigan, no, yeah, I think it was a local Michigan newspaper. That looks like there's a screen, like a screenshot from maybe the body cam. But it's a picture, it's a picture of you standing there at night. You look devastated. I mean, the look on your face. I mean, I can't even. Ugh.
I was
Sorry.
in shock. I was in shock. And this is the thing. We, as Americans, as citizens, we're expected to perform like we are on stage in the moment. You're not at all expecting to be stopped by the police, right? Because they
Right.
initiate the interaction. So imagine it's 3 a.m. I'm dropping my buddy off. He has to go to work. He works in healthcare, early morning for him. I also have to go to work. We're upstanding members of the community. I'm expecting to drop him off and be home in 10 minutes. And then this
Yeah.
incident happens, right? It's April 10th in Michigan. It's freezing. I was not expecting to get out of the car, and I'm being put through 7 sobriety tests again and again and again in a dark alley. And think about it. This is just a few years after George Floyd and all of these incidents. I'm thinking,
Right.
I'm about to be murdered in this alley, and I'm supposed to be doing like circus tricks
Yeah.
in the cold in an alley. So
Yeah.
we've got to remember that. Like, one of the things I write about in my book, which was part of my therapy, a book is called Don't Flush, and it actually uses
Oh.
a lot of that night. For example, the photo that you mentioned, that is when I was being inspected in the alley. But the book talks a lot about these emotions and how Black people in particular live in this kind of shell shock. And a year after the incident, I was talking to my buddy who was in the passenger side, and he said, Dakarai, I almost ran from the car. I was so afraid. And every time I tell that story, every time I think about it, I get chills because I probably wouldn't be here today. It would have been considered an escalation if he ran.
Oh yeah.
We would
Oh,
have
if he'd
been
run.
gone.
Oh.
We would have been gone. They
Yeah.
would have they would have said we had a gun. They would have said that we were resisting. We both would have been shot.
Yeah. You mentioned, I don't know this phrase. You said it was unlimited immunity. What was the?
Qualified immunity. So qualified
Thank you.
immunity is that force field that protects public officials and in particular police, law enforcement from civil lawsuits and things of that nature because they're quote unquote doing their job. That's very subjective, and that's one of the things that I am running against. I want the
Yeah.
elimination of qualified immunity. We need our officers to respect civil rights. And so I've authored what I call the Motorist Bill of Rights, and it's visible on my website, DakaraLarriett.com. And my policy proposal says you can only stop us, citizens, right? We're motorists, we deserve rights, when there is a legal reason for that stop. And we've got to make probable cause a federal standard because think about it. I lived in Alabama. I just happened to be in Michigan that month.
Yeah.
Number two, when you do stop someone, it has to be a test that is scientifically proven. I was put through tests that I later learned have no scientific basis of proving sobriety or not. They're just evidence gathering, building a case that they've already decided the answer to. And then finally, release of information. In my case, I had to fight for 5.5 months to get my body and dash cam. I paid $600. Then they redacted it and weaponized it against me. That has
Right.
to stop. When someone is stopped by the police, all evidence needs to be released to them or the family in the case of a murder, right? No redactions, 24 hours, no cost. This will improve transparency and accountability for the police.
Right. Oh, I agree. I mean, and you had mentioned it should be a federal standard. I guess I
Yes.
thought this is what the Fourth Amendment was. This is what the Fifth Amendment. I mean, these are amendments to the Constitution. This is not like something that people would listen to and go, "Oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea." No, we put much of this in place 200 years ago. So, I mean, more. 200 and some odd years ago. I'm stunned. I had never heard of qualified immunity as just, well, it's our job, suck it up.
Yes.
I'm stunned.
So that was essentially the ruling of the judge is,
Yeah.
sorry, Dakarai, you had a rough night, and I'm sure you wished it had gone another way, but they were doing their job. And if you can believe this, Amy, he put on paper that I arose suspicion by driving at 3 a.m. So that was the
Okay.
probable cause.
Oh, geez.
I, at the time, was a 42-year-old man. I can drive any hour of the day I choose.
Of course. It is ludicrous. I'm going to ask you this question. I probably already know the answer. This concept of qualified immunity, then, and when this civil suit was dismissed, I mean, when you heard that, it's a judgment, I guess, not a verdict, but when you heard that judgment, like what ran through your head? What were you feeling at that moment?
It solidified in me that the whole system was broken. Because imagine we, taxpayers, and that's the other thing I want people to think about. You may not be empathetic to my experience in that night. Fine. There are going to be comments either way. But
Sure.
Michiganders, you are paying to defend these criminal cops for the
Yeah.
last 18 months, and this probably will go on for years. So it is completely unacceptable. And I was so hurt. I was so hurt that I paid my taxes so that they could purchase this equipment for body and dash cam. Then I paid $600 to get the evidence. I present it to the authorities. Again, Governor Whitmer, Dana Nessel, people I voted for,
Right.
people I think to be advocates for our community, they won't even engage. Then this evidence is weaponized against me, edited, redacted, presented to a judge who dismisses my case at that point about a year into the matter. Most people don't have the time or money to keep up a fight like this.
Oh no.
I
No.
I almost intentionally have lost track of how much money I've spent fighting for justice. And I'm in a
Yeah.
place of privilege to do that. But my goodness, this is un-American.
I'm going to stand with you on that. That is un-American. That's not the way we do business in the United States. I stand completely on that.
Right.
What an awful story. Let me move on just a little bit here. I looked at your website, and so first of all, I'm amazed. How do I want to put this? I think you represent like normal America, and let me be more specific. You have there's a range of issues that you have opinions on, that you're running on your platform, that really ranges a sort of a big political spectrum. I mean, from healthcare and education, which tend to be more on the left, on the left side of things that we care about. Sorry, apparently I can't talk. But then you also mention faith and gun ownership, which
Yes.
tend to be on the right side. I think you represent, like most of America, we're not polarized like that. We are more in the middle. And I guess the first question I want to ask there, like, I think we look at a lot of polarization going on in Washington, and so I'm curious, like, what do you think this would bring if you bring all of this ability to see things across the political spectrum? What do you think that's going to do when you get to Washington? I'm saying when, by the way, because we
Yes.
already know.
Well, I think it's all about, again, you mentioned earlier, being pragmatic and solution oriented, which is what we have to do in the business community.
Yeah.
So that's been my approach, but it's truly authentic because I am a son of Alabama and my dad was in the Army. I grew up professionally in New York City. So I've had a very diverse upbringing. And you mentioned the guns piece. My friends from New York never shot a gun before. They're afraid of guns. I'm an Alabamian. We hunt. Like 2, 3 generations ago, my family hunted to feed themselves.
Yeah.
That's just our reality and it's cultural. So I can kind of move many different crowds. I also grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. So
Okay.
I've kind of done it all.
Yeah.
So it's about relatability and supporting the values of my state and doing what's right for them.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Thank you. What a great answer. I mean, I think because I agree that ability to be pragmatic is probably what we've lost in Congress right now. The people they want to win.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be right instead of do right is the way I like to think of it. And
Yes.
yeah, I appreciate a more pragmatic approach. Can you give me, I don't know if I want to say examples, but how do you see, because you also said, what's the quote? Okay, so service over self and country over party. I don't think there's anybody, personally, this is my guess. I don't think there's anybody in Washington, if you said that, they would go, oh yeah, that's totally me. So first of all, what do you mean by that? And then what do you think that's going to bring to Washington?
Well, I said a little bit earlier, we are not necessarily looking for political veterans and career politicians to deliver results for us because we're not seeing it happen.
Sure.
So while I have the experience of public service, I have not served in an elected capacity. And that allows me to bring a degree of objectivity to the role.
Right.
Yes, I know many of these people in elected office. I've lobbied them from a healthcare perspective, public health perspective, things of that nature, but I have not sat there and done the voting and had to be incredibly partisan. So that's a clarity that I bring to this, which is really exciting. And when I think about service, it is an opportunity to really engage with people front line. So driving for Meals on Wheels, even if elected or when elected, that is something I never want to stop doing because it allows me to get out and talk to our seniors, hear what's on their minds, and stay connected to the communities that I serve and represent. So that's something that I just make sure I do as much as I can. And I also serve our unhoused animals as part of Greater Humane Society. So I started a pet care business about 14, 15 years ago now. And it's the same thing. How can I run a pet care company and then not be a part of our adoption and rescue world here in America and in Alabama?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it keeps me grounded. So that service it gives back. It's not just serving. You get so much back from the experience, and it's something I believe in and encourage others to do, and I will continue to do no matter what.
I'm loving you so much.
Thank you.
Thinking about just moving to Alabama
Yes,
so that next year,
more voters.
cast a vote. Yeah. Shoot, what was I going to ask you? Oh gosh, there was something you mentioned that I was going to ask about. I do know. I remember. Because you mentioned also you're in Washington now. Are you able to talk about this a little bit?
Of course.
Okay, because you're there for the Congressional Black Caucus.
Yes.
First of all, tell me why. Well, go ahead and whatever you want to say here, whatever you can. Let's hear it.
It has been an amazing week. I have met so many inspiring leaders. So the main reason I came was to build my policy chops, to understand the issues affecting our community in Alabama in particular. Population is about 25% Black. So
Okay.
incredibly important constituent group amongst others, right? So it's about serving all 5 million Alabamians, but this is 25% of them. And I want to understand the key issues affecting the community from healthcare to economic opportunity, and then start building those relationships early with the leaders in the party so that I can actually get things done. Because that's how you work in a body. I've served on boards for 20 years. It's about relationships to get bills passed,
Yeah.
rules enacted. So that's the currency that you've got to build. And you don't want to walk in fresh after that oath of office and not know anybody.
No, that's for sure. All right, I want to pivot just a little bit here. You did mention, I mean, you did mention you're gay, and
Yes.
I'm just going to tell you the idea, like, what a breath of fresh air to think that there would be somebody gay. I mean, we've got some openly gay. Colorado has an openly gay governor, but we just don't get a lot of, the queer community in leadership. And I'm curious. So, I mean, I've asked you before. What are all these things bringing to the Senate? So I'm going to ask you the exact same question. What does that experience now bring to the U.S. Senate? Well, to the government.
Yeah. It is about bringing a diversity of lived experiences. And while I would say I have expertise in our community, serving our community and our needs and healthcare needs, public health needs in particular, it's about having that empathy to be able to identify with other minority groups that are not getting their due representation or support in our legislative process. That immediately is something that I will bring to the table. And it's also just an opportunity to inspire another generation. So the run, I always say, matters. So I started this process really 2 years before the election. So I've been on the road for like 3 to 4 months and then working behind the scenes to set up the campaign another 3 to 4 months. So it's going to be all in 2 years. This is going to inspire that next generation. Maybe 50 years from now, we get, a real contingent of queer folks in Congress. Right now, we have one senator, Tammy Baldwin. And
Okay. Okay.
if we just kind of do the math, shouldn't it be a lot higher than that, right? To truly represent America. And that's what I want our Congress to look like America, so that we make rules and laws that protect and uplift all of us.
Right. I think that is a huge, lofty, obviously noble goal. Do you expect to face major challenges? Just when you walk in through the door, do you expect somebody to go, oh, I mean, along the lines of what you faced in Michigan? What challenges do you foresee?
Well, I've broken so many barriers in corporate America, and I know and can extrapolate what that will look like.
Yeah.
But I'm also very hopeful. So I've learned to start accepting like the small wins and really cherishing them. And one of them is I'm already represented by a gay state representative, Neil Rafferty, in Birmingham,
Okay.
Alabama. That is such an amazing thing in Alabama. And why can't we send a gay person to the US Senate? I
Of course.
believe that's impossible, even for the state of Alabama. And we have people of all sexual orientations represented at all levels in the state of Alabama. Some are more open than others, and that's their prerogative. So I am used to facing adversity, and I'm ready for it. And as this campaign matures, I'm sure the attacks will come. I'm ready for that. And it's interesting, Amy. Initially, we want to be really muted about who I really am. And we focused more on kind of like, what has he done? Business and entrepreneurship. And I would say just a couple weeks ago, someone on the team said, I think it's time now to kind of come out. I was always out
Okay.
to come out. And we did a fundraising text message, and it was our biggest fundraising day ever. And money is still coming in from that text. And it just started to snowball. We got a feature in The Advocate, a feature in Out Magazine,
Mm-hmm.
Bay Area Reporter, and 2 or 3 other articles are being written right now. So the overall community has been very accepting, and it's been an amazing opportunity.
Absolutely. I want to. I'm going to ask this. If you go, no, I'm not answering that. I understand. Did you did you choose? Did you make a conscious choice to say I'm going to hide this part of me? Yeah. Let me stop. Was it a conscious choice in this in this campaign?
It was a team decision initially, not to hide, but to not lead with it.
All right.
Because, to be fair, the goal is not to be the first gay, the first this, the whatever. The goal is to serve the community. And we didn't want it to come across in that way, that I was
Right.
trying to get some type of history mark or something in my Wikipedia. It's about serving all Alabamians, and we wanted to establish myself as a credible leader first. Then we thought, okay, let's own those things that we will ultimately be attacked for. So,
Right.
falsely arrested, gay, and some people might say I haven't lived in Alabama long enough, but I'm a born and raised Alabamian. I moved away from the state because I couldn't get a job there. So that's
Oh.
what I really want to fix. I want to bring more economic opportunity so we don't have that brain drain to Atlanta and to New York.
Right.
So
Right.
common.
Let me let me say thank you for reframing how I put that. I did use the word hide, and I appreciate you reframing that. That makes absolute sense to me. I appreciate what you're saying there, that it isn't, you don't need to add first whatever to your Wikipedia entry. Thank you. That I felt a touch chastised. I was like,
Oh, sorry. No.
no, no, no.
No, there's a
It's I
nuance. It's just a slight nuance of the how we rolled it out. And it was really important to the campaign and to me to get quote unquote mainstream media to accept me as a
right.
civil rights leader, uh, a business person, an advocate for the community first. And then there are these 1,000 other interesting things about me. So we start
Right.
with, he's gay. You're gonna find out other things. I love animals. Like, there are 1,000 interesting things about.
No, and I love that because I'll tell you. I mean, gosh, the first I heard about Sarah McBride, right? The first openly transgender member of Congress.
What else do you know about her?
Honestly, I didn't know much.
Right.
And I think that's a great point. That was the first thing I heard. And as a result, anytime she makes, how would I put this? A concession. Well, because how about this? When Nancy Mace introduced, I think it's I can't think of what they call it, but rules of the House or something like that, the transgender women weren't allowed to use the restrooms in the Capitol building. Sarah McBride said, I will comply. And I saw this huge outpouring from the transgender community that was like, what is wrong with this person? Why did we send you to Congress? And it's like, well, first of all, not all of us did that. And second of all, I think it's exactly what you're saying. There needs to be a pragmatic approach to this because there are 1,000 other things that are important about Sarah McBride other than her being transgender. So I really appreciate how you framed that. Because that is the challenge to go and try to represent all of your constituency, not just who you are, who you are and who you've been.
Yeah.
And I mean, on that note too, because you'll be going to the Senate as I mean, you're young. I know you said, early 40s. I mean, you're young, you're vibrant, you're black, you're gay. How does this end up? We are vibrant. Come on.
Yes.
You're looking at yourself in the game. How does that end up representing, the rest of Alabama?
I think this is going to be such an exciting run. And even the media that we've been able to garner a year out, again, as a Democratic candidate in Alabama, that doesn't happen.
Oh, I
So
know.
this is really going to be transformational. And that's partially why I wrote the book, too. I know that it's still early in the process, but hopefully 6 months from now, people are like, something's happening in Alabama and I want to read up on this guy. And the book is the vehicle to explain. It's my 125-page resume. Like, what have I done in the lived experience that
Yeah.
allows me to represent and serve all Alabamians? So the gun owners, the Christian conservatives, the LGBT people, like I can relate to all of these people. And even if I don't know their exact experience, I'm going to hear them out. And they'll know that from reading the book and getting to know me.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Because that is a major challenge, right? How do we find people who represent all of their constituency? It's difficult. And on that note, because you on your website in particular, you bring up equality and equal access, and I think we're struggling with that in the United States right now.
Mhm.
Let me ask a quick question. This is a quick question. Why do you think equal access to, let's call it the American dream, why is that important to the future of our country?
It's important to the stability of any country. So we may not make it another 250 years if the inequities we're seeing continue, and they are getting worse. I just attended a
Mm.
panel hosted by Representative Maxine Waters from California, and we're becoming even more polarized, and wealth generation, income, everything is going like this, with, in general, Black folks becoming poorer and other communities excelling. Why is that? We have some systemic barriers that we've got to break. And we know that we do better when everyone has an opportunity. And I have to offer myself up as an example. It all starts from education. That's the first pillar of my campaign. My grandfather had an eighth grade education. He went to a 3-room Rosenwald school in Autauga, Alabama.
Wow.
So from there, he invested in education for my mother. She was the first generation to go to college, graduated. She ultimately earned her master's, and she's an educator. With
Wow.
her experience and her value of education, she got my sister and me into the very best magnet schools and charter schools that she could find because our local schools were inferior. If I just go back to my grandfather not investing in her and she not investing in me, I wouldn't be speaking to you today, Amy.
Right.
So
Right.
everyone doesn't have a parent that's an educator. So we've got to raise the water level for all Alabamians, all schools, ensure everyone gets a quality education and a good start on life. And that starts with pre-K.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, given that opportunity, all of the opportunity you had, you excelled. I mean, magna cum laude, graduate. I mean, it's like, obviously you did very well. You did use a phrase, and I wanna pick this apart a little bit.
Mhm.
You said, "We know we do better when everybody has opportunity." I don't remember the last part, but you said, "We know we do better." How do we know that? Yeah. We're going
Yeah,
to put the question mark there and move on. Goes, how do we know that?
it applies to so many different areas. I think about health disparities. Like if a community is sick, which is where we are right now, and I'll speak to
Mm-hmm.
Alabama, we have the worst maternal death rate for
Oh,
Black women.
no. Oh,
Yeah,
geez.
number one in the country. For women in general, we are maybe number three worst in the nation. We have healthcare deserts throughout the state. So we need to raise the water level for everybody. A more educated population is going to have better healthcare outcomes. A more educated population is not going to get into trouble. So we're having a crime and gun violence epidemic within the state. It all starts from giving everyone an equal opportunity to excel, be productive. And by the way, when we have a more educated population, we're going to attract the right businesses into the state. We're going to finally invest in the state. We can start fixing our infrastructure issues. Like, it's a virtuous cycle, but we have not started the cycle. That's the problem.
How do I want to phrase this? Do you think the American dream still exists?
For some people, and I think a lot of things in this country work just as folks intend for them to work. So it may, to me or to you, feel dysfunctional, but I think it's working exactly how certain people want it to work. Meaning, certain people get to go to good schools, they get to
Right.
live in great, beautiful communities, and they're safe. Whereas others are fending for themselves, providing low wage labor and prison labor, frankly. That's another problem in our state. In Alabama, we have one of the highest percentages of incarcerated people. So, yes, we have a lot of work to do.
I appreciate that. Having been one of the people who worked really hard to try to get to achieve the American dream, and then ultimately kind of getting to a point where I was like, they don't want me. They don't want me to succeed. They don't want me to have to achieve the dream.
Mhm.
They were very happy to have me work. You had mentioned low wage labor, prison labor. I mean, I guess I was white collar labor, I suppose,
Mm.
but still labor for somebody else's American dream. I don't know how I wanted to put that. White collar labor sounded ridiculous, but run with me on this. You know, we frequently we seem like we're pawns in some greater chess game that we don't even know the rules. Is it chess? Is it checkers? Is it, Parcheesi? What is even going on? And
Mhm.
so the American dream is very elusive. And some of us don't start it, some of us can't finish it, and most of us don't achieve it. That was my rant. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Well, you're right. And so my experience is interesting in that professionally, I worked in the corporate supply chain
Yeah,
with a very close tie to factories and warehousing and things like that. So I was always exposed to blue collar labor and workers, and I was always very envious that they actually had unionization, which we didn't have in the corporate world. And I think
right.
that I would love to see us expand union options to corporate workers because, as I kind of joke and say to my friends, it's corporate slavery. And we are so mistreated in corporate environments, the surge and purge with the constant layoffs. Like, this cannot be healthy for our economy. And I would say in the last 2 to 3 years, maybe half of my friends in corporate environments have been laid off. So we do need better worker protections that still allow our businesses to excel and be competitive.
You had said it's not good for the economy, it's not good for our mental health.
Oh, no, not at all.
I mean, yeah, most of us are kind of afraid that we're working harder and harder and harder because we're afraid we're not going to have a job.
Yes.
And in the meantime, we're buying houses that, the prices are going up.
Mhm.
So you better have a job or you're going to lose everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, I suppose we could keep going down that road all day. It's very difficult, obviously, it's difficult to be American, I think.
It seems like everything is pitted against you. So I kind of think it's almost like a P&L. It's hard to consistently earn a decent wage.
Yeah.
You're constantly dealing with layoffs and all these different factors that you can't plan for. And then on the expense side, it just keeps going up and up and up and up. Food costs, housing costs. So I really want to work on legislation to create more opportunities and competition so that we have more housing options, which is something that they've done really well in my city of Birmingham. So I get a little nervous when they keep saying Birmingham's a great cost-effective place to live. I'm like, okay, don't tell everybody. You don't want to be Atlanta, right? You know,
Right. Or Los Angeles. Yeah.
right. So some cities are doing it very well, and others are not keeping pace with demand. So I want to create those incentives. And then also from a food perspective, how do we make it more affordable and accessible to everyone? We're going to see some real challenges with the ice raids and things of that nature
Ooh.
impacting harvest season.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're seeing it now, but do you mind elaborating a bit on that? Because I don't. Is there much agriculture in Alabama? Forgive me for being that
Oh,
ignorant.
yes, yes. So
Okay.
I'll give you a little walk through the state. It's a big state. It's one of the most biodiverse in the country. We are known as the Amazon of America.
I
And
love that.
some of our key products are peanuts, soybeans. So think about all this tariff activity and the
Yeah.
fact that China is not buying soybeans now
Right.
from
Right.
America. So let's see what happens to our farmers in state. We also produce cotton, of course, and on the Gulf, shrimp and other seafood, catfish, and all types of things are quite prevalent in our state. So yes,
Dang. You are. You're so proud of your state.
I love my state. And
You do.
this is the other thing. People get into these contentious battles around, well, red states, they receive funding from the federal government and just back and forth, right? Very contentious. And I always remind people that having a food supply is national security, right?
Right.
How do you put a price on that? And we've got to be mindful that each state shows up in a different way and adds to this whole American pie. And I want people to remember that New York City is not growing soybeans and peanuts, right? So we all bring different things, and I can appreciate that. I think most people, when they think about it that way, they're like, yeah, that's true. It's not all
Yeah.
about GDP, right?
True. You had mentioned red states, blue states. Always a fascinating thought here, because do we really have red states and blue states? We really kind of have. I mean, not to.
Some of them are absolutely one or the other, but people are starting to say Alabama, like Georgia, is a purple state, which is
Yeah.
it is a purple state
Yes.
that is highly gerrymandered and suppressed. And we keep hearing about these judicial decisions that our maps are unconstitutional and violate the Voting Rights Act. I've seen 2 or 3 stories about that in the last month. It's really crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I do appreciate you bringing up purple. Not that I wanted necessarily to plug that. Just
I thought
purple is a phenomenal color.
Yes, it is.
Well, I mean, that was, for what it's worth, it was one of the first things I thought. I thought when I saw your website, I was like, wow, you really do represent a complete spectrum.
Yeah.
Which is mostly who we are. That is the United States.
So
We are purple.
I wanted the campaign visuals to be purple for that reason. I really did. But in the end, I trust the team, and they said
Yeah.
red and blue are the colors. Like, you don't want to be too, like, you're already a unicorn. Don't be too
Right.
Dakarai.
it's a good point. It's a good point. I would love to have I keep meaning to like get some hats like with the embroidery so it says "Make America Purple" again. That's what
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love to see that. But that's me. You made a reference earlier on that what you're doing today is going to end up being inspirational for generations, and I think I completely agree. There's no doubt that you will be inspirational, well, for generations, because each of us is, right? We never know how big our ripple effect is. Do you? I mean, inspirational is one thing. I'm looking at you and I'm thinking you're like a hero.
Oh, thank
Do
you.
do you see yourself like that? Do you see yourself as stepping into this role? Do you have like the invisible cape floating behind you as you're taking photographs? I just love that look right there. But
Uh,
what do you see? How do you see yourself like that?
well, I'm just in the moment trying to be the best
Sure.
candidate and run the best campaign I can right now and doing the things that I want to see. So it's that is not really a factor right now, and I don't want to get lost in that. But I would say
Good point.
when a student reached out to do a Black History Month project on me, and I was so floored at the honor.
Yeah.
And that was before I initiated the run. That was more just because of my business history, and they somehow learned about me through that. But
Mm,
those types of stories are really just heartwarming.
they are. That's beautiful.
Mhm.
I want to. I would love to see more. Originally I was about to say I would love to see more people from the queer community, follow in your footsteps, as it were. And I actually want to pull out that word. I'm not going to say queer. I'd love to see people who love their states, love their communities, care for their communities. I'd love to see more people just like you. If we take out every other aspect of you aside from your service, service over self and country over party, I would love to see more of that.
Mhm.
Do you have any idea how we can grow more heroes like you? Sorry, I used the term
We have to
again, but
recruit them. Yeah, we have to recruit them and support them. So there are a few PACs that exist,
okay.
and we're in discussion with them. It's preliminary because it's 2026 that I'm running. It's a long way away for many people to wrap their heads around.
Sure.
But we approach them. When does it switch to we want you to run and we've seen you, we like your story, and we're going to fund you. You do the work, we're going to fund you. There's
Yeah.
just so much money in this process. And I could not have run 10 years ago. I would have been in a 9 to 5. Now that I'm a business owner, I have more flexibility to do this and the assets to do it. So that's a huge barrier. It's ensuring that diverse people have the funds to run and that we support them. And then for states like mine, 90% of the funding is going to come from outside of the state because we are a poor state. So, unfortunately, it boils down to money. And that is another area that I will support legislation on removing the proliferation of money, especially dark money, from the process.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Do you do you feel we're in sort of a moment? How do I want to put this? I was trying to be poetic about it, and then I'm like, just let it go. But are we at somewhat of a pivot point for politics for now, right now for the United States? I mean, because you can look around at everything that's going on, and I'm not going to enumerate anything. But do you feel that this will be somewhat of a pivot point that will make people go, yeah, I need to go and run for office too, just like Dakari?
Mhm. The excitement that we're seeing just in my state is mind boggling. So imagine in Alabama, on the Democratic side, we sometimes can't even get or recruit a candidate to run for a seat. You can't
Sure.
you can't raise any significant money, and your chances of winning are limited because we're a plus 15 right-leaning state.
Okay.
We now have 3 people in the primary for United States Senate on the Democratic ticket.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it's amazing. It's like we go out from town to town, and all 3 of us, like I say, we're like brothers. Like we're so like supportive of each other, and like it's a really good vibe. So we all want to win, but we're excited to support each other and in this journey. So yeah, I think it's going to be a big year next year, 2026. And I'm already seeing it with the excitement from the media. And we need you all to tell our stories. So we appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate that ultimately you are hopeful. There's a lot of hopelessness out there now. And your story is beautiful to have turned everything that's happened in your life into hope. I don't know how else to put it. We're gonna need those. We're gonna need new posters, right? With
Yes.
now your face that says hope underneath it.
Right. Right.
Was it too far? Was that pushing it too far?
Oh, no.
I'm looking at the time and I'm so disappointed. I have had such a tremendous I have tremendous respect for you, and I've been so honored that that you came and you spoke to me today. I will guarantee there's going to be somebody who's going to hear this and go, "I've got to know more." Can you just tell me, how do we find you on the internet? How do we find Dakarai Larriett on the internet?
So everything kind of dovetails from our website, dakarailarriett.com. So you can
Okay.
see social media, you can see all of the media mentions we've had and interviews, and also the book. And I think the book is really a great opportunity. It's called Don't Flush. It's available on Amazon, Apple, and paperback,
Okay.
audio, etc. And it's an opportunity for me to spend 4 hours with the reader and tell my story. It's my 125-page resume and why this is the moment that we've got to do something to stop qualified immunity and drive justice and equality, not just in criminal justice, but education, healthcare, and economic opportunity.
Yes, thank you. So I've got dakarailarriett.com. I will put a link to the book too, for sure. I didn't see a link to the book. So I know that you're also pretty active on Instagram. I don't have an Instagram account anymore, but you've
I,
been in. Go ahead. Sorry.
we try. It's difficult on these platforms, and that's the other thing we need help with is these algorithms. They prioritize different kinds of media. I think you can imagine kind of things that these algorithms prefer to show. It's
Yeah.
not political
Yeah.
stuff. So it's tough unless you're in that top 1 or 2%, like Jasmine or Jasmine.
Jasmine Crockett, you mean in
Yeah.
particular? Okay.
Yeah. I tried to see her today at the caucus, and the line was like an L shape,
Oh,
2 blocks. So
I bet.
anyway, show the rest of us some love. Yeah, Instagram is the same thing. It'll be Dakarai Larriett for Senate.
Yeah. Okay. I've got a link to that.
Okay, great.
If you get the chance to see Jasmine, by the way, tell her Amy said hi.
Oh, I will.
She has no idea who the hell I am,
Okay.
but I watch a ton of her videos. Let's just say that. So, I also see you're on TikTok, you're on YouTube.
Yes.
You're all over sharing the message, and I don't know. I'm going to reiterate. Thank you so much for providing hope in
Thank you.
the world today. Such a huge thing, because I feel like a lot of us are losing it, specifically in the queer community. And yeah, I guess I'm just going to say that. I honor you for everything that you've done and you're going to do, and thank you so much for talking to me today. I'm getting emotional.
Thank you for having me. It was really such an honor, Amy. And I just felt so comfortable talking to you and sharing
Thank you.
my perspective on things and how we can work together to benefit not just our community but all communities, especially those that have been marginalized.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. I know we have the tendency to want to separate ourselves to a certain extent. So well, let's make this community better. Let's make this community better. When ultimately, what we need to do is let's make the country better.
Right.
So I appreciate that about you. Thank you so much. I'm going to give you the heart. Smile heart there.
I would try to copy, but I would probably mess it up and embarrass myself. So, but
Now
thank
there's this new one too.
you.
I struggle with this. I didn't do it very badly, but I struggle with that one. But my kid can do them all. It's like but my kid's 14, so
Oh wow.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like you get all the slang and all the things. They come home and I'm like, what are you even talking
That's
about?
mandatory to them. Yeah.
But there you go. So, all right. Again, thank you so much. I'll go ahead and do my little shutdown message here. But I will tell you, this has just been an utter pleasure to talk to you. Absolutely. All right, so I am Amethysta Herrick. I've been speaking with Dakarai Larriett, US Senate candidate for the state of Alabama. And let's see, we spoke about certainly, oh, I lost the quote. Here we go. Certainly speaking about service over self and country over party, how we can bring ourselves together, bring everybody together, and just, of course, how we can make the United States represent all of us again. So thank you again so much. Truly appreciated it.
It's been a pleasure.